But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, apologize for technical issues. I'm glad to announce that we have Parker Lord Punked Perentis. Perentis is your last name? Yeah.
Yep.
On stream with us
It's
tonight.
Lord Punk. There is no D.
There's no D.
Everyone, I only do the D. There's no D. I only do Lord Punked because Twitter and Twitch was both taken.
I
But
feel
it's just Lord
that.
Punk on everything else.
I
Gotta
got
love,
you,
gotta
bro.
love Twitter ruining my name.
That's the classic struggle, dude. Like I wanted to be just Gersh, but some like 60-year-old woman in Canada who hasn't posted since 2011 has the Gersh at, so it's just major struggles, dead account.
Yeah, I offered my person like $500, and they told me no.
Honestly,
Oh,
people are weird out there. Real talk
yeah,
though. Once again, glad to have you on. For those of you guys that don't know,
of course.
Parker is head coach over at Ottawa Esports. More specifically, the COD team. They compete in the CCL, College COD League. Anything I'm missing, Parker? Any main attributes to your profile?
Um, I'm the vice president for Wichita Wolves.
Yes, sir.
And then along with doing the COD team, I also am the head coach of the program, student head coach. So I run all of our esports. I do a lot of our recruiting and work with our director Sergio and with our other guys. But I'm basically the top student in charge over at Ottawa right now. Just kind of
That's actually
doing my
sick.
own thing, figuring stuff out, what we want to do.
Just curious, and of course, for people like me that don't know, what kind of sports is Ottawa involved in besides COD?
Should I go down the list?
Yeah, honestly, you
Okay,
gotta
sure.
flex, dude.
So we actually have quite a bit of sports.
Hmm.
We are an athletic campus.
Got you.
Um, so 97% of our students that go to Ottawa are actually athletes.
Hmm.
So it's like a different demographic. So we got men's baseball, basketball,
Oh no,
bowling,
no, I was saying
cross
the esports,
country.
esports.
Oh, esports. I'm
Yeah,
an idiot.
no worries.
Uh, so esports wise, we have Call of Duty. We have Valorant coming next semester. We
Hmm.
have like a coach right now. He's the head coach for Gen G currently,
Oh
and he's
shit.
also a student here, so he does both.
Uh huh.
Um, and we have Overwatch. We have CS:GO along with Valorant. Um, we have Rocket League. We do Warzone, Gunfight. Of course, our Call of Duty team. League of Legends, and we're hopefully going to expand a little bit as well this next semester as well.
Hmm.
Um, so we got quite a wide variety of them, and then we compete in like Apex and other stuff that we can on the side. Hearthstone, of course.
Hmm.
And then hopefully I can do some like Madden stuff coming up here, or
That would be sick. Yeah.
whatnot. Because there's or chess, because I know chess has been blowing up, and
Hmm.
I've been really loving. I've really loved it. Have been loving playing chess recently.
Dude, it's crazy because just because chess moved online for competing, of course, last year, chess ended up
Yeah.
being like, or chess had the athletes that got like highest paid for esports last season. It was
Yep.
Magnus and someone else, but or
Yeah,
Hikaru,
Magnus and Hikaru.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Dude. I want
Who actually
Empire.
signed with TSM.
Yeah.
Yeah. Empire actually, well,
Well,
Dallas Envy has two. The Botez
Botez. Yeah.
sisters.
No, I was saying I wanted to see Empire at the number one spots for player earnings, but chess took the crown. Hopefully, Botez
Yeah,
sisters succeed next season or this season, and
they're not like as high ranked. They're more content creators than anything. They're
uh,
both, I believe, like 2100, 1800. I'm about a 1700.
got you.
So I'm not as good as them, but like, some of those guys that you go and watch at the highest level are like 2700 plus.
Hmm.
So they're not as much competitors as they are content creators, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
their content is fantastic, and they are killing what they're doing.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like I think that was a huge pickup for Envy right there. I mean, the way they've already played into like Crimsix's personality on that last episode they had, even Shotzi and Hook, they had the little taste test game.
Yep.
Yeah, that was insane. uh, I mean, speaking of orgs making moves, where would you say Ottawa's at right now in the CCL? Like, what's your take on your position right now? I know you guys are pretty high ranked. We were talking to
Uh,
Pistachio earlier. He gives his rankings. He put Ottawa at number one. So
Yeah, so I have this 1 and 2. I think everyone in the country does right now.
yeah.
There's not really a situation like Ottawa anywhere else in college COD right now. I
Hmm.
mean, I came in and I immediately went out and recruited kids who are playing at the top 32, top 16 level, even higher of Call of Duty
Yeah.
in the Path of Pro scene, and was like, why are more teams not doing this? We got a lot of hate for it at first just because yeah, it's different, it's a change, and not many people are like on board with what's going on, and which is unfortunate. But I
Hmm.
think a lot of people have realized that this is the direction that it kind of needs to take for us to take the next step. So yeah, we're gonna dominate this year, probably next year, and then hopefully that year three is when other schools you'll start to see doing the same thing,
Yeah.
and bringing in that talent level to kind of match what we're doing. Because like I tell everyone, our guys are young. We have one senior with Noisy, and then Austin Cruelty's a junior. Everybody else is a freshman.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we're in this like weird place where we're going to be dominant for these next couple of years, and then hopefully we can basically build a dynasty from there in college COD. But my goal is for hopefully the CCL and other colleges realize what we're doing and take that
Hmm.
and then replicate what we're doing. But it is definitely a change. So I understand why people were frustrated and saying that, like, I know we got told that we ruined the competitive integrity of everything, which really
Yeah.
frustrated me and some others. But
Uh-huh.
at the end of the day, like, if we weren't going to do it, someone else was.
That's true.
And in my eyes, I was like, why not be the one to do it? Like, I might as well be able to be the one to lay the claim to fame that we were the original school to start doing this for Call of Duty.
Yeah. And I mean, not really my place to talk. I'm not like the biggest person on in the CCL scene. I don't follow it that much, but I do feel kind of what Ottawa did going to the season. Of course, you guys do have more of a financial backing. I mean, at the end of the day, it only increases the standard of the league. As you said, it's going to happen eventually, and the fact that you guys are able to have that quality of a program, Vox or not Vox, sorry, shout out Vox though, Noisy, like a name that just stands out to me instantly as someone involved in challengers. I know him as a top AM, and the fact that people get to see Noisy's profile on the internet and associate it with Ottawa, of course, being top CCL program out there, it only
Yeah,
allows more attention and growth for the scene. So that's a valid
exactly.
point you brought up.
And Noisy's like a perfect example. Like, he's someone
Hmm.
who was going to be on a really, really good college Call of Duty team this year
Yeah.
with the University of North Texas. Was going to be him, Bink, and two other really good players. Like, they were a legitimate top three team.
Hmm.
And I kind of talked to Tyler. I went into his stream and I was like, "Hey, how much are you getting scholarship wise from UNT?" Because I knew I wanted him because we had Kev Fame already, who they had teamed in Challengers and won events with. And then there was also Austin Cruelty, who they're in like the same friend group.
Yeah.
And I was really like, yo, I want Noisy. I want him here. He's like the final piece to my puzzle.
Hmm.
And so I contacted him. He's like, yeah, UNT doesn't recognize us as a program. They don't give us any scholarships. We kind of just play out of our dorm room. And I was like, would you like a scholarship? Let's make something work. Let's make college cheaper for you. Get you a chance to win all this money that's being put up for grabs and not have to worry about the stress of like trying every week, right?
Yeah.
And that appealed to him. So we brought him on first because it started off with a couple of players that we recruited, Moxed, Kron, and then a lot of things happened.
Hmm.
They've since left the program, um, and then we picked up some other people to replace them. And we have Chris Radial, Herbie Prophesied, um, and Ethan Too Nice for our gold team, which that's a friend group and a former Path to Pro team on their own.
Yeah.
And then like we've been talking about, this black team with Austin Cruelty, Lightning the Joke, Noisy, and Fame. Those being the two big headlining names.
Hmm.
And then we have a world class coach in Viox, who I think is a top five coach in challengers.
Yeah.
He took Carnage to top two last year.
Second place. Yes, sir.
Right. And he on his own is very accomplished as himself, and I'm honored to have him working right beside me um, for the CCL and for everything else. So everything was in place for us. A lot of people say it's our financial backing. Like, at the end of the day, these kids are still paying for college. It's not
Hmm.
like they're getting full rides. Um, so I wouldn't say that we're like outdoing other schools budget wise, because there's definitely schools out there who could blow us out of the water budget wise, and I know that.
Yeah.
But we laid the groundwork for where people would want to come, what kind of program they would want to be a part of. And that's what I think attracts people the most is the environment, is the $2.5 million arena, is our production equipment, is the staff that's built around these students. And I think that's the biggest pull for these kids.
Hmm.
And it's not just the money. And that's what really frustrates me when I see it on Twitter, is that they're only coming here because it's one, the money, but there's so many other reasons that these kids are coming to chase their education.
I mean, yeah, money doesn't mean growth at the end of the day. It's what the program does, right? You can pay to have good players, but if you're not helping them succeed and get to those bigger goals for the future, then your money doesn't mean much, right? I think
Exactly.
Ekaj in chat just said as well, like if you have the opportunity to be the best, why wouldn't you? Um,
Yeah, no, and that's what we pitch to kids. When I get on
mhm,
recruiting calls, I'm like, you have the opportunity to come to an up and coming program that may not be the best in every other esport yet, but we are working to get there, and we have our proven track record with Call of Duty. Like I've stopped focusing on Call of Duty as much as I used to,
mhm.
and now I'm focusing on like Valorant, Rocket League, Overwatch. Those are my main three concerns right now that I've been working on. And I've kind of let Brian take over the COD coaching side of things, and he does a lot of that management. He does like our VOD reviews and stuff, while I handle more of the logistics of things. Working with him has been awesome. I can't vouch for that guy enough.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I definitely agree. If you're gonna go somewhere, why not go to the best? It's why Maryville dominates in League of Legends because the best players want to go there.
honestly. And I was gonna say, like, I actually got to know Viox. I had the pleasure of meeting him like 2 nights ago. Well, not 2 nights
Yeah,
ago, 2 weeks ago, or 1 week ago. We were in Shift stream following like a busy day of Challenger stuff. Just Shift was in there working. I was talking to people in chat. Viox was there, and then I go to Viox's profile, and he says, I got second in NA champs last year. So I look at him, and I'm
yeah.
like, so why isn't this guy coaching challengers this year? And then his thing says he's coaching at Ottawa, and I look at Ottawa and CCL, and Ottawa's I mean, of course, dominating. There's no no better way to put it, right? Um,
Yeah, I don't think we've had a map over 130 in hardpoint this
yeah.
year yet, to be honest.
So I think it's remarkable. Like people will put it on the money, but if you kind of look at it from a different perspective, you guys have used that money to. I mean, I don't know if all of your financials have necessarily gone towards putting Vox in the program, but you guys have clearly prioritized who you bring onto the program, and you have quite literally a top two coach from Challengers
Right,
last
and
season
it's
in the program.
and a perfect example of that is we brought in the Gen G coach for our Valorant and CS:GO team.
Mhm.
He's a professional CS:GO Valorant coach,
Yeah.
and I think that's what a lot of programs don't focus on is bringing on those core coaches to build out your program because they're going to have connections. That's what people don't realize. These coaches will have connections, and people will want to play for them.
Hmm.
And that's why Call of Duty was so successful is because I had built these relationships with players through my time as a player and an org owner to get them to Ottawa. They had
Yeah.
that trust with me. Not a lot of programs have that yet, and I think that's where the big change is going to come in these next couple of years, as these people who are in the community and established names go into colleges and start doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You could have paid Viox, but if he isn't doing his job at the end of the day, I mean, that's not going to translate into success. So I think it speaks a lot about the program in terms of the effort you guys put into maintaining the level that clearly you guys have been able to achieve this season. But when it comes to, I mean, your topic of growth of CCL scene and the way you guys have been able to do it, the way you'd intend on other teams doing it, I think for me, because my perspective is the West Coast, right? And I've grown up in a place where basically everyone here is really big on what Overwatch, League, Hearthstone, and that's about it. So all the collegiate programs here that do mostly exist in terms of more of a higher scale of organization, it ends up being, of course, Overwatch, League, and Hearthstone, as I mentioned. Um, so I think growth is only good. I think the CCL is doing a great job as well. I mean, of course, Long Beach joined up this year. The other California teams that have been in there historically haven't really done the best, but getting to know the CCL this past season, just seeing that level of representation only grow, for sure gives me hopes for the future. And talking about that general general outlook on things, I do want to move on to my next point, which is discussing Ottawa's plans for the future. So of course you guys are doing pretty
Yeah,
great right now. I mean, of course, the immediate future. What are your goals? Whether it's winning the next tournament or grand scheme of things, what would you like? What do you guys have
yeah.
your
So
sights set on?
our goals for Ottawa, like for Call of Duty, of course, is going to be to win the CCL, win the TESPA, win the win the CCL TESPA event, if you can even call it TESPA anymore.
Yeah.
Our goal is to get first and second of those. If we don't, I consider what we've done a failure. 100%. If we don't get first and second, I feel like we've failed as what we've set out to do. And then after that, continuing like long term, continuing that success. It may not be as much as dominant as we are as more and more people come to join in, but I do. My goal every year is to win a championship.
Mm.
That's going to be my goal for Call of Duty. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, I do want to start winning in Valorant, in Overwatch, in League of Legends.
Of
My goal
course.
is to build those programs up within the next year, year and a half, to the point where we're winning 80, 90% of our matches, and where we are competing for championships. Maybe not as talented as like a Maryville, but my goal is to get to that point eventually within the next 5 years. As long as I'm with the program, that's my goal. I don't know if Ottawa plans to keep me around after, or where I'm going to get my master's if I decide to get it. Um, as long as I'm at Ottawa, that's going to be my goal for us to build up that success we have in our other esports that we built with Call of Duty, because we've laid the groundwork. We know what the recipe for success is now after putting it to the test.
No, that makes sense. And Viox in chat just said the fact that teams don't make esports an athletic and more big schools don't invest in it will baffle me forever. Yeah, I think I get that.
I
too.
totally agree. Because like at our school, we're a varsity athletic sport. We're on scholarship as a varsity sport. I'm the same as any athlete who's playing basketball or football here, but no other school is really taking it that serious. I know there's a few schools in our area, like Bethany's doing it. Shout out Biz, they're killing it over there. The Swedes. I know UCI does it. I know Maryville's doing it. I know schools like that are, but until the mainstream people are doing it, what's happening is not going to change. And then you're going to have a situation where like UTD, where their Call of Duty program's fantastic, and they have all their growth for their social medias, but then their university won't recognize them. I think that's where the biggest problem is people are seeing Call of Duty as a game where it's like, oh, it's harmful. There's settings that you can put on to change that. And I think until schools start taking it serious, like Ottawa has bought into the idea, we're going to have these problems that keep occurring where schools like UCD are basically outcasted from the rest of their athletic programs, when honestly they're probably one of their better athletic programs successfully national wise. Because if you look at the scene now, these small schools like Ottawa, like Bethany, are competing against Division I schools when we're not even in NCAA. We're NAI schools, and that's just crazy to me.
No, I mean real talk. I like they brought up UCI. UCI built the whole esports facility out there. But you brought up a good point about how COD, of course, is more of a differentiating factor in terms of the content of the game and the way it's perceived. But personally, I mean, feel free to disagree. We're on here for conversation. I think part of it might just be the fact that a collegiate scene for COD isn't as fleshed out to begin with. I mean, if there's one thing about colleges
and then you can,
in America...
Yeah, but then you can counter that point with, why is CSGO accepted in college?
Exactly, yeah.
Is it not a first-person shooter doing the same thing? It's terrorists versus...
counter-terrorists, yeah.
yeah, that's the same thing. I hate that argument that schools are not doing it because of like the filters of the gore.
Oh no, so that's what I
think that's
say.
a terrible argument.
I think it's just,
and I think it's a terrible thing.
I just think collegiate COD isn't as flushed out, because if there's one thing about colleges, like in America, they love their money, right? So I think if there's like a clear path for them, where it's just like, okay, if our school begins to sponsor this instead of the 5 kids that have organized it and registered for the CCL, and will profit off of it, like they'd be more into that. Esports in general, I think for sure just a matter of time, right? Like I think Ohio was the first big one a few years ago, or 5 years ago. I gotta remind myself of my age. That was like, oh, you can go here for esports. Just expanded the way things went, but yeah, man. Hopefully COD grows.
And I've had the pleasure of seeing like the spectator aspect of like people outside of esports as well. Like Ottawa, we have our arena. We have other students from different sports come in and watch our matches. Like the football team, lacrosse team, soccer teams have come in. Football teams have come in and watched our matches. Other students enjoy watching this. And I think a lot of spectators do as well. Like our administration staff is always in there watching and cheering on our Call of Duty team. When we have our live streams and stuff. And I think that's super cool. And I think that once these colleges see that and see it as an actual viable like sport, you gotta treat it like a sport to be taken serious as a sport. And I think we got a lot of pushback on that when we started saying like 5-star, 4-star recruit last year, and stuff of that nature. But we're treating it like a sport so that our college takes it serious as a sport.
Yeah,
because we're only going to be taken as serious as we take ourselves. And seeing it happen at Ottawa, I definitely think that it can happen at these big schools. And when it does, I think the seed's going to explode.
For sure. Do you think that ends up sticking with the CCL, or do you think colleges kind of integrate their own system of doing that?
Um, this is where it gets tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not a sanctioned NCAA sport yet.
Yeah.
Um, the CCL works perfect. I do think we get to a place in maybe 4 or 5 years where the NCAA steps in and says we have to regulate this, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the amount of money and stuff going on, and it turns into where I don't even know if you can make money at that point, where it just goes to scholarships or what. I don't know what's going to happen, and that's the world of unknown that worries me right now. Is when is the NCAA going to step in, and what are they going to want to control?
Of course.
Because I definitely know that money is going to be the biggest thing. Like Justin's talked about,
Yeah.
$50,000 in the prize pool this year. The NCAA is going to see that and be like, you can't make money as a student athlete.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the biggest change is going to come in that next 5 to 6 years. I don't think it's going to happen within the next 2 or 3. It can. There's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a place for it. But if that happens, I'm curious to see how the landscape changes. Because right now, the biggest pull for college esports is you're able to win these scholarships, you're able to win these prizes. Because right now, we're not a legitimate like step like in traditional sports where you go from a college team to a pro team. That doesn't exist right now in
Mm-hmm.
college. The only example you can see of that is two League of Legends players from Maryville. Um, but at the other side of things, I could also see it being successful just because the pull of getting your degree. Like a lot of these kids don't realize if you're not getting T30, if you're not placing inside of T16 every week, T8, you're not probably going to the pro league.
Yeah.
So why not go get your degree?
And it's crazy too. Like, I mean, you bring up a good point about how the collegiate scene survives if the NCAA gets involved. I'm just thinking about it right now. Like, I think what really sets us apart from traditional sports is that we have to rely on the developer, right? It's not just that we pick up the game and we can choose to play it however we want, wherever we want. It's just the fact that the developer is co-signed to their own league, and it's their choice if they say, hey, like, the CDL is going to be drafting one player from, or each CDL team is going to be drafting one player from like the CCL next year, right? And how they begin to focus on collegiate esports. It's like it's directly tied into the corporate side of things, which is kind of stark to think about when you talk about the NCAA. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the NCAA involved in any other esports, or is that just something for the future?
Currently, no.
Okay.
Currently, no. The closest thing we've gotten to that was when ESPN started doing college coverage, and there was talks of it, but nothing ever came of it.
Yeah.
It's in like League of Legends. There's still nothing in place that stops anything. And it's just that whole world of unknown that's going on. So it's kind of frustrating. Not knowing what the future is going to be and what I'm recruiting these kids into. But at the same time, I have good faith in the system that no matter what happens at the end of the day, they're going to be benefited by getting a degree, and they're going to be benefited by getting this experience of being able to do what they love and are passionate about.
Of course. I mean, my next topic was actually CCL growth. So, I mean, just in terms of the CCL, do you long term see the CCL getting picked up by ideally Activision, or do you think Activision tries to compete with the CCL?
I mean, what I think eventually will happen is that when the NCAA gets involved, they're going to work with Activision because, like they do with the NCAA does with the NFL, the NBA, they work with that big parent company. What I think eventually is going to happen is that NCAA will get involved, Activision and them will work together. They're going to just cut the CCL completely. I've talked about this before. I know people don't like don't like the concept of it. With the NCAA being the NCAA and being the corporate wigs they are, they're going to cancel the CCL. They're going to get rid of it. They're going to cease and desist. And there's nothing the CCL is going to be able to do because Activision's cutting a deal with the NCAA for that exclusivity. And it's going to suck, yes, for the people who are involved with CCL and the people who have founded and built the CCL to what it is. But I don't see a world in which the CCL and Activision / the NCAA will ever be able to compete together. And that's just, for me, that's the harsh reality. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not the expert. I'm not I can't tell you for sure that's going to happen. That's just what I think is going to happen. Because at the end of the day, it's a money grab for those big companies, and they're going to make money off the viewership. They're going to make money off the hosting the events and the promotion.
Of course.
And they're not going to want to share that. Especially with like a situation where you see that a lot of people have been talking about this week. The Elite got 800 viewers, while CCL had a 10,000, 11,000.
Mm-hmm.
CCL is killing it right now, and if the CDL decides they want to step in because they're partnered and working with Activision and they are their main source, they could technically right now contact Action being like, hey, can we shut this down? And Activision, because they hold the licenses to Call of Duty, could shut down the CCL right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that will happen until NCAA or someone gets involved to create their own primary college league, but it can, and that's a fear that we have to live with, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do at that point.
No, I got that. So eCash in chat just brought up the fact that CDL is going to want to pounce on it because they see the money it makes. Do you think, you mentioned the NCAA going out and reaching out to Activision. Do you think Activision sees an upside to the collegiate system potentially in the future funneling into COD, or do you think they look at it?
I think they already have. I think they already have. Activision this last year brought TestBet into Call of Duty. They brought this year CCL into Call of Duty with Activision. I think we're already at that point. I think they're already involved. I think they know what's going on, and I think they're just waiting for that next big thing before they make their next decision on how they want to handle it.
Gotcha.
But they're definitely already involved. 100% Activision is already involved with what's going on with everything already.
So, quick rundown for our viewers, and of course, someone like myself, not as educated on the collegiate scene. What was TESPA, and where's it at right now?
So TESPA is what Activision Blizzard Collegiate is now. TESPA was a nonprofit that basically was the bigger version of TESPA prize pool wise.
Gotcha.
But now it's Activision Blizzard Collegiate.
Okay.
They basically rebranded because TESPA bought them out. No, TESPA got basically bought out by Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Because they already controlled Overwatch, and that's why it's now all being played through game battles. And that's kind of when I saw that happening last year. A lot of people joked when TESPA shut down that it was me because it was right around when like the whole Ottawa situation with TESPA happened last year.
I think I saw Pistachio saying that, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, wow, Lord Punk actually killed TESPA.
Yeah.
No, I definitely saw that coming kind of in advance. It didn't really shock me. Yeah. It's hard. But yeah, that's what TESPA was. It was basically a nonprofit that was funding through scholarships to these students, and they were working with like Steel Series and stuff.
So you said there's
and
still
Activision
up,
Blizzard just
through
no, so the name TESPA doesn't exist anymore.
But Activision
it's now that
does.
Activision Blizzard.
And they're still
so they just rebranded. It's the same Discord and everything. Like if you go to the old TESPA Discord, it's the Activision Blizzard one that we're all doing. It was basically a Activision just wanting their name on it.
For sure. Got you.
It's still all the same people.
So it's just a separate thing that runs alongside the CCL.
Right. And now they're working with the CCL, which is why I kind of...
Interesting.
I had worries of like Activision last year just cutting the CCL and making everyone play the TESPA. But I don't think they want that responsibility quite yet. That's why I still think that there's a chance that CCL could overtake and become who Activision works with.
Ideally, that's what happens. I think from a viewer's perspective, it just really makes sense. CCL has become fully autonomous. It's all volunteer run. And, dude, they've managed to garner it to the point where it is the primary phase of a collegiate COD. And, dude, 50K prize pool, like, for something that's a volunteer run, it's insane. You good, by the way?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay, that was a sneeze. Scared me for a second.
You're good.
You're good. No. I think ideally for me, as a viewer's perspective, what would only make sense would be for Activision to go and just buy out the CCL, of course. Ideally compensate people, lovely people that put their efforts towards it, but I don't know if that's going to happen, of course, with the whole corporate atmosphere.
Right, exactly. I agree. I think that perfect world, that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
But we all know how the business world works, unfortunately, and
Hmm.
my hopes for that are not high.
I get that, dude. It's it's just a really tough
It is
scene.
what it is, but
Yeah. Um, and I don't know. My biggest thing is, of course, like with my personal background being involved in challengers, I think as long as a shift gets paid somewhere somehow, like I'm happy because that man works too hard for everything.
I love Allen. I had the pleasure of staying with him in Minnesota, and I got to see firsthand how hard he works every
Yeah,
day, every night when he's doing events and stuff. And I
honestly,
can personally attest to all the good things they say about him. I love Allen. He's one of the hardest workers, one of the smartest workers I know.
yeah.
And I'm so proud of everything that he's been able to accomplish so far.
Shout out to Shift, man.
Yeah.
And then quick, or actually, let me run the ad break right now, or not ad break, ad read because I got another topic that's going to be stepping away from the whole CCL conversation we've been having.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I actually do want to give a quick moment and thank our sponsor, Artesian Builds. For those of you guys that don't know, and Parker, you as well, Artesian Builds is actually a custom PC building company. You can throw in whatever parts you want, even if it's a 3080, 3090. They've got their hands on it. And the cool thing about them is that they'll build your PC on stream. So they basically hand you the order ticket, let you know what time and which stream they're going to be building it on. So you get to see them work through your PC. They've got that level of quality assurance, right? Because they've got their whole live audience making sure nothing goes wrong, right? If it does, then it's big on them. So they got to make sure everything's good. And I think they clearly have done a great job of that because the clients they've worked with Tommy, they've worked with guys like Mizkif, of course, huge streamer, Mutex, I believe, as well. So shout out Artesian Builds. Located on East Coast and West Coast, based out of San Francisco, so I got a lot of love for them. And of course, guys, as per usual, use code LADDER for up to $100 off. So GPUs out there, scalpers have ruined the market, but $100 off to put towards it with a great company building your PC. No reason not to go for it. So anytime you guys are looking for a PC, just hit them up.
Good to
Um,
know.
yeah, shout out Artesian Builds. So here's the thing. Ottawa, of course, huge this year. Buckles is in chat from College Cod Management. We got Pistachio in chat. I know they can attest to Ottawa being great. We've gassed up Viox enough, so I'm gonna hold off on that. But of course, Challengers right now happens to be the more easily translated means of entry into the pro scene.
Hmm?
Um, do you think long term you'd want to see yourself getting involved in Challengers or Viox
Oh,
too?
I love challengers. I've been a part of the challenger scene. Like I mentioned earlier, I owned an org called Senior Origin, and I was a big supporter of challengers. And then working with the Wolves, I'm involved
Hmm.
in challengers. COD's my lifeblood. I definitely want to be involved at a higher level as well.
Hmm.
If Activision came to me and were like, "Hey, could you help us run this?" I would love to be a part of it. I have so many ideas that I think would make it a lot more viable for these organizations investing. We talked about off stream.
Yeah.
Um, there just isn't that incentive to invest right now. Like I saw the Hybrid owner, and Hybrid's a very, very recognized, and they were the academy team for Seattle Surge last year.
Hmm.
Um, their owner said there's no point of investing in COD right now until it comes back to land because there's nothing to gain.
Of
And
course.
he has a great point. Like you're shelling out $2,000 to $8,000 a month for these teams, not get much as you need in return for it to be worth it.
Hmm.
Um, so it's hard right now, and then of course in challenges right now you're dealing with like all the hacking and lesser known names not being able to make their come up, otherwise they get accused,
Hmm.
and there are legitimate hackers, so it's really hard right now in the challenger space.
Yeah. Paul
And
X. Paul
it's
X,
really
huge
been a turnoff
hacker.
for me this year.
Yeah. No, I'm joking right there, but do you have a CDL team that you're a big fan of, or of course
Yeah,
you can't be
I'm
too
actually a
biased.
big Empire
Big
fan.
Empire fan. There we go. Love to see it.
Yeah,
Shout out to the Empire. You have a favorite player on the Empire?
yeah, Ender for sure.
Let's get that, bro. My man, right here. I don't know if you're
I've
trying to
been
get on my
watching.
good side.
I've been watching Ender play since I got into Call of Duty. He's he's easily been my favorite COD player now for the last couple of years.
Just a grinder, man.
Shout out Illy.
Yeah, dude.
He's the goat.
We have
He used to follow me on Twitter. I tweeted him on his birthday like 2 years ago, like "Happy birthday to a fellow S&D star." Right?
mm-hmm,
He followed me for like 2 years. The
mm-hmm.
day he got verified and picked up the Empire, he unfollowed me, and I was so hurt.
Dang, you got the big game mentality.
Yeah, I respect it. Like,
Uh-huh.
shit, you made it to the league. Like, you're that guy now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna support you. But I was like, dang, that one hurt.
You ever watch the Codcast?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you know the whole shout out Illy guy that was on there last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to him right now, bro.
Hey, that's you.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's what I was telling you earlier before stream. When I say got my entry into socials, it was because I started off with the meme right there. But less about me,
Awesome.
more about you. You're our wonderful guest tonight. So, talked about CDL, talked about challengers. Ekaj in chat said regarding challengers, of course, content is potentially the only avenue for upcoming orgs right now with COVID. And I think you were letting us know earlier as well, before stream about the way content is and the way orgs need to be more fleshed out in challengers. I actually want to reference a clip that we actually posted to Westford today about Hector addressing it on the Optic podcast. He said, yeah, down the line he would love to have a Optic Academy or Optic Nation as he'd plan on calling it, but for him it's just CDL challengers isn't profitable right now. So you mentioned already, of course, the trade-off about how you can't really guarantee players like that 2K, whatever K salary, with no guaranteed return. How do you think challenges grows going forward? We had someone mention content, of course, which is how I sparked this question, but in terms of Activision side of things, you've had some experience in org management in terms of what the orgs do. How do you see challengers ideally growing in the best way possible?
So I'll give you two scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
One is my crazy scenario I've thought of and I think would be great if it happened, and then my other one will be like what I think will actually happen. Crazy, what I would envision happening if I was in charge is what I would do. I would have every team have an academy team,
Mm-hmm.
and have there be an academy league that has that functions basically like it would soccer leagues, where
Mm-hmm.
you have your people can go up, they can go down. There's relegations and promotions. And it would be a 3-tier system. So you have your pro teams that are just always there, but then you have 2 fluctuating spots,
Mm-hmm.
where academy teams or these amateur teams could be brought up and brought down, right?
Yeah.
So you basically build your academy team to stay in this tier 2, based on like it's their own league, so they wouldn't compete really against the other teams. And then you have another 2 teams that are from the challenger scene, where it's like the old pro league where you would have relegations and stuff.
Sure.
That would be my dream scenario, because I feel like there'd be a lot more reason for that. They would have their own separate prize pool. They would have a lot more content they could do out of it, and I think it would be a lot of fun because it brings back that mindset where like if you're an amateur, you can fight your way to the top and make it to the pro league. Like that was the dream back in the day. BO4, I remember watching the qualifiers.
Uh-huh.
I had a friend who was there.
Yeah,
and they almost qualified for the pro league, and that was like the dream. You had the chance to be on stage with Scump and qualify.
Yeah, Zap made
but there isn't.
Zap just made midnight that year. That was
exactly, and there isn't that anymore, which I think is just killer for the challenger scene. So that would be my dream scenario where you could fight back in.
Let me pause you right there before you get to the next scenario, because I got a quick question about that.
Good.
They addressed this on the podcast last night. Someone had a question about it. No free shoutouts, by the way, to the podcast. Do you think that ends up happening down the line, like that sort of integration with people being able to directly feed into the pro scene, purely because of the way they've structured it, so people have to pay for their spot in the scene?
I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I think the moment they franchised, they kind of killed that, which is, I'm both pro and anti franchising, because there's so many more positives and it legitimizes so much more. But at the same time, you kill these opportunities for these players trying to get in.
Gotcha.
So it's good. It's a necessary evil. It needs to happen. But I don't see a world in which that happens anymore. Where we are just rotating in players and stuff. I think it's going to be a long-term thing where it's like a traditional sport where these guys are signed to like I think it's going to get to the point where I Hold Shift is going to become the next Adam Schefter of this college, where he's like, oh, 5-year deal for $120 million for Illy to re-sign with the Empire. I think it's going to become that, where it's a long-term kind of thing. where they are trying to take that traditional sports aspect in, and I just can't see it becoming where these players are coming up. Now, I could see possibly down the road maybe a draft scenario where
with
these players are
college.
able to draft once every couple of years,
Hmm.
draft like an amateur player to come up. I could possibly see that happening,
Hmm.
but I can't just see it being like the old days where CWL, where anybody could make the pro league, anybody could make a main stage.
Yeah,
Um, just I can't see it anymore.
got you. And then go ahead with your second scenario. I didn't. I cut you off in the middle there.
Yeah, so what I think is going to happen is
Uh-huh.
that the CDL is going to revamp the entire challenger scene, and they're either going to require or teams are going to want an academy team, and you're fighting to get on that academy team,
Yeah.
and then the challenger system would say the same. That's what I think is going to happen, where it's kind of like it is now, but I think they're going to revamp it and put streams in, and make a lot more content out of it and focus on it a little bit more. Um, but that's what I think will probably happen. Because that's what makes sense to me in my head.
Hmm.
It's viable for both sides. It's viable for them. It's not going to break the bank, and it still benefits both parties.
I think what would end up being necessary for that would be kind of regulation of contracts. Because if you do have players that are genuinely grinding, get picked up on that challengers roster for an academy team, you don't want them locked into a contract with like NYSL's parent org and box, right? Because yeah, they'll be like at the top of challengers, but if they don't have any room for growth unless NYSL needs a spot, then it's not that direct feeding into like the pro league, right? It's more of you're kind of stuck on NYSL.
I mean, there's no true lock-ins anymore. You can buy out that contract if you want to,
Got you.
and those teams definitely have that money because it's a maximum buyout of 50,000
Okay.
that you can set for these academy players. Like if an amateur player has a contract, it's $50,000, no more, no less. As far as I'm aware, it might be able to be less. Um, then you got to buy them out, and it comes down to how bad do you want them.
Hmm. Nick Cezot, lead designer at FaZe, just threw in a
Yeah,
little suggestion in the chat. He
big
said,
fan of his.
"Yeah, shout out Nick." He said, "Make the 12 teams rep an academy team, and then give them the freedom RLCS does with the grid, and have franchises stream their own challenger matches." That
See,
could be
I could see a
interesting.
world now where that works. I could see that working.
Yeah,
I genuinely could. It's just a matter of, is Activision willing to do it?
that's true.
That's what everything comes down to at the end. Like, is Activision willing to put that time, money, and effort in to make that happen? And the way things have been going right now, no. I don't think it will. I think they'll just revamp their own system so they don't have to do as much work, but I would love for that to happen.
For sure. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the Elite Series and how that really either, of course, benefits or remains pointless for the challenger scene?
I think it's good. I don't know really what it changed.
Yeah.
I don't. There's not a big incentive except that they're glorifying the players. Like, it almost felt like they didn't want to stream challengers, so they gave them the Elite Series, so they gave them something to stream because people were complaining. That's almost what it felt like to me. I think it's a good concept. I think it's working for what it is. But like even with the scouting ground series that they introduced this year, A3 and like the players were choosing to scrim over playing the challenger series, like the scouting series, because it's more beneficial. Like they would rather scrim with their teams than play for pro teams,
Yeah.
because there's no benefit and they know there's no benefit.
Yeah, I was in a Rambo Ray's stream for that. Shout out Rambo. And he was saying like to me this is just an opportunity to like get to know the players as people because this was before Fellow had been announced for Empire. He said like we already have our sub decided. This is just me getting
Right,
to
exactly.
know.
They know who they're picking up.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, at least they're experimenting, but with people like you, Nick, providing those great ideas, ideally it just gets at a point where they're reaching out to the minds in the league. Do Shift. Reach out to Shift, please. and
Right.
and get some suggestions there. Any other comments about challengers and the future of it?
I hope they're able to give us an anti-cheat, and hope we do something for it. It pains me to see the state that the scene's in from what I grew up watching. I enjoyed so much watching World War II, BO4, shoot, I even enjoyed watching MW for the most part because there weren't these extra pains. Like it felt like they were doing more in MW than they're doing for us this year. Just because the anti-cheat's very, very frustrating to me. I'd rather watch an MW Challengers event right now because I know no one's hacking.
Yeah.
But like I miss BO4, I miss World War II. World War II is my favorite COD ever. So I'm hoping that the new game brings a lot more flair and reminds me of that because like the rank system was fun to play. It gave these amateurs a chance to play against these pros as they granted their elo high enough. And then on top of that, the challenger scene was awesome to watch. You had good talent playing every week, and then of course the LAN aspect. We need LANs back.
Mm-hmm.
COVID has ruined all the plans, and my fear with COVID is that the CDL has seen that hey, we can run challengers online and we don't need events, and they cut the events we have.
Yeah.
I just pray that doesn't happen.
I did too, man. I mean, my perspective, like getting that networking opportunity. We talk about academy teams for leagues, like or for orgs. They're gonna be more likely to do that if they get that homestand money, that land money.
Exactly.
Hiring at leagues too is really weird right now because of course just the budget control, and they're not as willing to like jump the gun on an intern. Wink, wink, guys. Wink, wink. No. I don't know. It's complicated, but ideally, due time. Before we do get into our next topic, though, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I do want to request that you guys tweet out the stream. And of course, if you guys have any questions for our wonderful guest, Lord Punk, no D at the end, Lord Punk, also known as Parker, head coach of Ottawa. If you guys have any questions, just be sure to let us know, and I'm here to ask them for you. So, getting back to you, Parker, well, no, you do, but what are your personal goals and aspirations for the short term? So we'll say next year.
So for me,
yeah, and then the next 5 years after that.
So I have a really big goal right now. This summer, I want to get an internship at either NV, Dallas Empire, or Complexity.
Mm-hmm.
Move to like the Dallas area for the summer and see how I enjoy the corporate side world of esports, the professional side versus college. Because right now, my head's in two places. I can either go be a director of a college and run a college program, or I can go do professional esports. And that's my goal. I've seen Justin killing it, and his passion and his success that he's had has made me really interested in looking into and seeing how I can get involved with something like that. I know you as well. You work with the Empire, and I'm sure you love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my dream goal. And so I'm going to do everything I can this summer to get an opportunity like that. Now, if that doesn't happen, I'm still probably going to go to Texas. Just with some friends. We've been planning this for a while. Make content, have a good time, and then come back to Ottawa. And then from there, my goal is going to be continuing to do what I'm doing now, building Ottawa's esports program until I graduate. I'm only a sophomore, and I want to build my resume up to where if I don't get that opportunity this summer, I will in the future. I want to set myself up because I don't want to work a day job. I played basketball in college. I took a year off, worked, not enjoy it. And that's where I really was like, I need to make esports happen for me. I want to be involved in it. So my long-term goal is to get a full-time job in esports, whether it be with a college or at the professional level. I'm not good enough to play. I enjoy playing S&D. I think I'm not terrible. I'm definitely not good enough where I'm going to be making illy money playing for the Dallas Empire. Yeah. I know that. I know I'm destined for the management side of things. That's my goal.
Real talk, man.
To get to that point.
You and I are one of the same. I'm a sophomore in college. A very big illy fan. Ideally, landing at that spot at Empire, but of course, just reaching out to the professional scene.
We were best friends that just never knew we were best
Honestly,
friends.
Honestly, dude. Ideally, I want to see myself in Dallas. I feel like it'd be a chill spot to end up in. But
it's as everyone says, the esports hub of the world right now. It 100% is.
I think real talk is just like it's been a crazy year for me. Just being able to insert myself that rapidly into the esports scene and have potential. But I get that completely, bro. Like just the passion that I can tell you have. I mean, shoot, dude, you got your record to speak for you. Ottawa's crushing it right now. Just having,
Appreciate it.
yeah, having that level of passion like with esports, you get to the point where it's just like, I love this so much. Do I really want to be putting my energy towards like doing something else potentially, right?
Exactly.
Um,
And I talk about Texas, but shoot, I'd give anything to be a part of any org. I'd
mhm,
work for. I'd go to Atlanta right now and work with Tyler and the boys over at the down there. Like
mhm.
I love those guys as well. Like I would love to go any of these places and work for these orgs. Like even Justin said, I would even take a shot at working for Paris, who
Bro, I
may
tried.
not have the best record,
Yeah.
just to get myself in. You know, like I
Uh-huh.
just want that opportunity to show that I can bring something, whether it's management, whether it's social media. Because I've done social media, I've done production.
Hmm.
I run the production for the Wichita Wolves. Like I'm in charge of all that. So I've had those experiences. I just need to find my place in esports.
Yeah.
And like we talked about off stream, that's what I've been struggling with right now.
Hmm. I think college is huge, bro. Like, because the more that grows, the more. I mean, if you're involved to the level that you are, like, the more opportunities it unlocks for you in the future. To me, getting more acquainted with esports the way I have in the past year, it's been pretty eye opening. Just seeing the way the framework is on a social level. Like I mentioned the whole California thing earlier. When I started watching esports, like end of middle school, beginning of high school, same years as you, because I think we're the same age right now.
I'm 21.
No, I'm 19. Never mind. I should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm an old sophomore. I took a year off. I failed my first year of school.
Uh huh.
I got hurt in basketball. Did not take it serious after that point.
So I'm a
Kind of like
young sophomore because I should be 20
yeah,
technically.
I trashed my record my first year of school.
No worries, bro.
I yeah,
Happens to the best of us, and esports will take care of that.
that's the plan.
Hey,
I'm banking on it.
hey, all I'm saying is we're doing better than Nate was in college, and look at where he is right now. So, um, yeah, no. When I started following esports, like back end of middle school, beginning of freshman year of high school, it was um, like all my friends followed CS, and no one was really big on COD. So for me, COD was only
Right.
like the people that I was like really growing up with, like my closer friends were into it. Um, and then I kind of come to realize now, like the reason that is because COD is just bigger in like the Midwest area, East Coast. It's just historically, I don't know why, but it's just had more of that attention.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's a thing too. Like everywhere else around the world, COD isn't really taken serious.
mm,
Um, over in Asia, it's all League of Legends, Dota, um, CS:GO in Europe is huge. South America, it's like Rocket League. Like we're one of the few countries whose bigger esport is Call of Duty. Now
yeah,
we're not as big as like League of Legends here still, but like it's a main esport here, where as in other countries it's not. And that's why this year I've been focusing on expanding my horizons to other esports in case I do ever work abroad, where Call of Duty isn't really a passion or
yeah,
a project. Um, it's like that weird thing like you talked about. It's regional.
mm,
And Call of Duty more than any other esport, in my opinion, is like it's an NA thing, but then it's certain parts of North America that really focus on it. It's not like you're not going to go to Idaho and COD's going to be the thing. It's like a Texas, Midwest, and
exactly.
then some West Coast thing.
And
I don't see it really as much on the East Coast anymore, except for like New York and
yeah,
Jersey, but it's definitely regional.
it hurts because like LA. I mean, people say, oh, like why not? Or no, people say COD's big in California. Like look at MLG Anaheim back in the day, all that. No, like LA is its own bubble. The thing is, like, it hurts to not have been able to get invested in this scene like early on. Like I was looking at Justin's post about his Empire ring, and shout out Justin. Justin's talking about like how he grew up wanting a COD ring, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, over here in California, like where I live, the Bay Area, the demographic is just not as big on COD, and it's kind of surreal to think about because we're talking about growth, right? Like general scheme of things. We had Rusto on Rusto, GM of Triumph, on episode before last, and he was talking about how in Korea it's embraced to the point where like you'll see ads on buses and just out on
Oh,
the street
100%.
about like their esports. So
Yeah, I had the pleasure of working with a guy named Max Wood.
mhm.
He was at Ottawa. Now he's at Converse University, where he worked for a team that was based out of Vietnam, um, based out of Asia, and he went to like Worlds and League of Legends. And he got to experience that when he came and told me about like how he lived on the floor of a team house to be a part of that lifestyle. It really changed my perspective on everything and how differently the world views it. Like esports is not generally accepted here. You go to Asia, it's massive.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's on those billboards. It's everywhere. That's so built into their culture at this point that it's almost weird to choose a sport over an esport at this point.
Dude,
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
I find it really interesting the way the mobile scene's going to play out, just because. And ladies and gentlemen, dude, if you guys have any questions for for Parker right now, put them through because we're just talking about random stuff at this point. But I like it's weird to see the way the mobile scene plays out because we talk about Asia, in countries like India where Overwatch isn't as big and console gaming isn't as big. CS was at one point, of course. That all got chalked after the whole Optic India fiasco. But dude, statistically, I think PUBG and COD. Well, it used to be PUBG had the largest player base there, and then COD.
Well, I know that Clash Royale is also massive over there.
Mobile gaming in general is massive there, dude. Just because it's just the feasibility of being able to play it, like. You've got a
right, and it's kind of like with chess as well. You can play mobily; it's massive in that region, and it's taken very serious over there. I definitely agree. That mobile aspect, I'm very interested to see where they go.
And that's another thing that I mean, end of the discussion is probably just going to be like it depends how Activision embraces that because I don't see console gaming being as fleshed out in a place like India where they're not really accustomed to competing on consoles.
Especially with like us going away from console to begin with.
Exactly.
Like Halo's no longer on console, Rocket League's not on console anymore, and now COD's no longer on console.
Yeah.
Which were like the big three remaining console esports. I don't even know if console esports are going to be really viable after another 2 years.
You think?
Honest.
You think we move to mouse and keyboard or no?
I don't think we'll ever move COD or Halo to mouse and keyboard.
My man, bro.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can if you want to keep the fan base and the player base. Because if you do that, why would Illy still be on Empire? Why would BZ and Simp still be on Atlanta? Why not just go pick out a CS:GO player who's going to shoot straight over with a mouse? And right, why not go out and get what's his name from C9 back in the day? I don't know how I'm blanking on his name.
I just think of Olaf. I followed CS:GO for a year.
There's no way I'm forgetting his name.
Wasn't Olaf on C9 like 2015?
He was.
Yeah, that's how I know him. I remember Fnatic used to be like huge. NIP won that one series that one time.
Shroud. What stops someone from picking up Shroud?
Of course.
Like, have you seen his MW clips when he was playing on mouse and keyboard?
I have, dude. I have. And it's kind of crazy.
You can't do that on console or with a controller. Plain and simple. There's no questions about it. It's not the same. Yeah. Asked a good question. Why invest in a risky mode such as gunfight? I know Ottawa is one of the few schools who have. Like Dom, he's our gunfight specialist and coach.
I didn't think he was being serious, but that's insane, dude. What?
Yeah, no. So I invested in that in Warzone, but I definitely think seeing Activision put money into it is the reason why I wanted Ottawa to put money into it, especially when they were supporting it at the college level as well. With the 2v2 tournaments. That's the reason I see a reason for it. As long as there's that support from the developers, from these leagues, I think it's going to be a viable option. But as soon as they get rid of that support, that's when I think it goes.
Yeah. I think you brought up Warzone. Warzone's been huge. We talk about general appeal of COD, like the fact that Warzone's in the... Because, okay, you can talk about how COD's violent, etc., but once something's in the mainstream, you can't control it because if you don't pick up onto it, then the youth is. Like, dude, I had my like 45-year-old coworker tell me that she's been bonding with her kids at home over Warzone. She's 45, bro. I don't know if she's ever played a COD game in her life, but just Warzone being the big thing, like, has changed that. Ideally, that's what sparks that growth. I had friends that usually play, like as I mentioned, league and all that. This is my specific example, so this means nothing on a general scale, but just a fixational example of how they were able to step away just to try out. Hey, this is the big game. Do you think Warzone ends up having its own league at some point?
I could very easily see it with all the money being thrown in right now. The only concern I have about that is, for COD Esports and Warzone Esports both be successful to their complete, we will need a second team to handle Warzone and then a separate team for competitive Call of Duty, developer-wise and for updates and stuff. Because right now, one or the other gets hyper-focused on, and the other one's not taking care.
This was kind of discussed.
That's my only...
Sorry, go ahead.
That's my only issue with it right now.
Yeah.
But I definitely could see Warzone getting its own league.
No, it was kind of discussed going into this year the way IW was continuing, or Infinity Wars was continuing development on Warzone, whereas Treyarch was, of course, polishing a multiplayer for the season. Just like a theoretical example people were throwing around about how maybe Treyarch handles multiplayer from now on out. Infinity Ward handles Warzone, and Raven helps out with campaign because they've done a great job. And then Sledgehammer, I guess, hangs in the balance, supporting where they can. Do you think?
Yeah, I don't like that because I'm a big Sledgehammer guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a big Treyarch. I'm not a big Treyarch guy.
Yeah.
I hate slide canceling. I hate sliding. I love a game like World War II. I actually didn't even mind AW.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sledgehammer. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I think Sledgehammer is superior to Treyarch.
You broke my heart, bro. We can't be friends now.
I know I get a lot of hate for saying that, but it's just the games that I enjoyed. It's my personal preference, you know. I enjoyed games like World at War, World War II. Those are my two favorite CODs of all time. And I hated BO4. I despised it. And that kind of turned me off from Treyarch for a little bit there. Cold War has restored my faith in them. But I can't love this game just because of all the issues that it has with hackers and stuff. And I feel like it would be one of my top 5 favorite CODs all time if it didn't have that issue. Pretty easily. I could make an argument for it being in my top 5 currently. But yeah, those issues with Treyarch, like I know you've seen the tweets with Vonderhaar talking about, oh, don't worry, ranked is coming, you're gonna love it. And then they copy and pasted BO4 shitty rank play.
Yeah, I think World War.
It's issues like that it's issues like that I can't. I can't just keep picking on the Treyarch's the best train. You know, Sledgehammer gave us the best rank play system we ever had. I think it's better than BO2.
You know why? You know why they did? Because they actually reached out to the people that'll help them get the better system. And guess who worked on it? Rambo Ray, the GOAT himself. So.
Exactly. They had people who were invested in the COD scene help build their game. It wasn't a cash grab. It wasn't all these things that we see going on with Call of Duty. Like, there's a literal algorithm that if you buy a skin, they put you in lobbies with lesser players so that you enjoy using a skin, so you're more obligated to buy another. That's a real thing built into COD.
That's
Treyarch has put in the game. If you buy an in-game skin that costs money, you will be put into lower elo lobbies to have better performance. It's a real thing.
That's crazy, bro.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
It's a cash grab. I want COD to be enjoyable again. That's my biggest fight right now.
No, I get that. I think competitive scene too. Like we just have that in the bottom of our hearts. Yeah, man. I don't want to hold you out here too long. I know you got stuff to get to.
My night is free for once in a blue moon. So if you want to keep going, we can. If you got stuff to do, we can call it here and then maybe do it in episode 2 later down the road.
I'd be down, bro. You can hop on my streams too, right here on twitch.tv/HV. But I was actually going to throw it back to the CCL for a bit because we had Pistachio make some predictions on behalf of the Ladder podcast. He posted it on Twitter too, but just to give everyone listening a rundown. Of course, we have good friends at CCL that reached out to us hoping we could make our own. So reading bottom up, we've got SSC Saints at 25, Humber Blue at 24. Shout out Cushpoint.
They are
Illinois.
way too low, in my opinion.
Hey, we'll get to it, bro. I'm gonna send you this too.
Oh,
Illinois Blue at
yeah.
23, ASU at 22. Let me find Parker. There we go. I just DM'd it to you. Oregon at 21, Rutgers at 20, North Texas at 19, CU Block at 18, PSU at 17, Purdue at 16, Ohio State at 15, SIUE at 14, UTD featuring none other than the Mr. J Pistachio at 13, FSU at 12, E4 at 11, and then top 10, Alabama, Roll Tide, number
Shout
10.
out Matt Honcho.
Matt Honcho. UNI at number 9. Surprising for me, CSU Long Beach at 8. Illinois Orange at 7. Carleton at 6. Humber Gold at 5. I think that's the one that Kush points on. Sheridan at 4. Concord at 3. And of course, Ottawa. You guys have black and gold?
Yeah, so Gold's one right now.
Yeah,
That's
gold's
the
one,
first radio roster.
black's 2.
Yeah.
And shout out Parker for that one. General thoughts on that list?
I'd move Purdue down quite a bit. They forfeited their match against us because they were focused on scrims for Path to Pro.
Yikes.
I hated that.
Uh-huh.
If you're not willing to play a top 25 team, I think you belong in the top 25. I think since their situation what it was, you drop them to like 24.
Mm-hmm.
I think UNI is a much better team than what they're rated. I would have them above CSLU and Illinois Orange, even though I really like Illinois Orange. I think there's a team on here that should be on here at like 25, 24. Miami, Ohio. I know they had a lot of controversy last night, but if that roster is not cheating, which I don't believe they are, I think that's a legitimate squad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Humber needs to be 3 right now.
Gotcha.
If they're trying their best, I think them and Concord are easily the 3rd best team in the country. I think Humber just has more established players with the likes of Kayam, Kush Point on their team versus a Crooked and Megatron as their big 2. And in my opinion, just accolades-wise, but I think either one of those teams could be 3rd.
For sure. Do you have like a specific dark horse for the future?
To win or get 3rd?
I mean, who down the line do you see potentially?
Because I hate saying I don't see anyone. I legitimately do not see anyone coming close to Ottawa. Here's my reasoning why. The team that everyone said was the greatest Call of Duty roster in college history was Texas A&M. They added a better player to their 5v5 for Tespo. We beat them 250-47 with a lesser roster.
Gotcha.
That's my only reason why I don't think anyone will touch Ottawa this year.
For sure.
And that may sound like I have an ego, but outside perspective, I genuinely don't think anyone has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fighting for 3rd, sleeper team at UNI for sure. I think UNI is a scary roster. Illinois Orange could maybe make a run, and then Carleton.
Gotcha.
Those would be my 3 sleeper horse teams. Ohio State could as well. Rush, my buddy Blake, he's their new star this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic and so much fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't count out Justin Pistachio maybe dropping 63 or having Illy drop 63. Whoever it is playing, it doesn't matter. But I could see UTD maybe making a run as well.
All I'm saying is, ever since Illy moved to Dallas a few weeks ago, Pistachio or
Justin's been playing.
Whoever's playing
better.
under that Pistachio account has been kind of cracked. So you never know.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's happening, but I'm not saying it's not happening.
If it's not Illy's blessings are with him, bro. Because Illy.
I was gonna say because Justin lives in like a nice place. He has internet. It's warm. His stuff isn't shut off, and maybe Illy, in exchange for having warmth and internet, has been playing CCL. I can't confirm or deny that, but I'm not taking it off the table.
You never know, man. You never know. But yeah, bro. I think it was great having you on for sure. I got to meet someone that
Appreciate it.
I didn't know in the past, and we got a lot in common, brother. So be sure to stay in touch. Feel free to comment on
100%
on my late night down bad tweets, pistachios as well.
I got you. I see way too many of those in this community, man.
Honestly, dude.
No,
Perception
it's
of
been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed this so much. It's good to get back on a podcast and talk. This is one of my favorite things to do. I would love to get on a second episode, maybe down the line after we win the CCL or something, and come back and we look back at what we said the first time and rehash things out. I'd love to have that opportunity. But I wish you guys the best of luck this year. Thank you for having me on. Everybody go check them out. The Ladder Podcast, they're doing great things for CCL and for college and esports in general. So thank you guys so much for having me on.
always, man. It's a